Okay, welcome again to our last session, final session of design pattern course. So a little bit about myself. I'm working with design patterns for last my decade, and in this course, I'm sharing purely my career experience. So it's all about what I've done in my life, but not necessarily applicable for my current position. So it's all about my career experience. Okay, now a fresh reminder. Do you remember anything about any of this pattern? Could you share? Could you raise your hand if you remember at least the one? If you can say something good about one of them. Mm. Yes, Melanie. Yeah.
Visitor pattern was one of the rare patterns. From what I recall, it was if you have a complex, like more complex data structure, like a tree, and you want to do some calculation across all the leaves. I don't remember the implementation, but I remember that is the use case for it generally.
Yeah, correct. Thank you so much. Any more? Anyone brave remember something about lightweight or interpreter? Yes, Julia?
Hi everyone, evening. I wasn't able to attend class last week, but on the book, the interpreter pattern has something to do with like sentence structure and grammar, I think.
Correct. Yeah, so we're using them for writing our own DSL. And the first ever applicable way to use it to write language, like even software language, it's already will be usage of interpreter pattern. I shared my career experience that I had to implement something for marketers because they come and ask all the time to generate feeds for marketing. And at the end of the day, it were clear that if we implement this, help for them to basically create feeds that they want, experiment as they want by having a exact language to create what they wanted, it will be easier. So basically, even if this pattern is quite rare, I've touched it in my experience as well. Yeah, very good answer. Thank you. Now, the last one. I have a comment from Yasmin, Lightweight. So it's correctly mentioned that it's using widely in game development. However, it's not necessary should be trees. It could be just one parent and one kind of node, one child. So only two actors. It's not necessary to say the tree. But it's also correct to say that we create something like parent object, and the parent object is static variables that we don't want to duplicate. And child is kind of lightweight object, so it's so light by the weight, so it can fly. That's why I think it's called lightweight. And by leverage this pattern, we can improve our CPU usage. Or as I shared, we also could improve how we store data in database by saying like, okay, fields that we want to store just in case, and as a snapshot, as we mentioned in Memento patterns, that we like the concept of having snapshots. Again, it's coming from game development where you need to memorize the state, the level, and like what was with your heroes, what artifacts they had, etc. That idea of memorizing the state we can widely apply for all software that we build, because we can say we always would like to track if our objects, products, parameters, etc., if it's changed state. So we want to store snapshots. And these snapshots you could store as a blob, serializable blob, heavy object, but because you serialize it with like the most compactable, serialized library, like formats Avro, Protobuf, you still gain from compaction itself, and that will be a heavy object. And lightweight representation of your object will be fields that exactly could be used for searching through these fields, like ID, timestamp, created date, updated date. What else could be good example? Some important parameter that your object needs, like state of this object as well. So this will be lightweight representation of your object, and you can put it in database as relational database. For example, the columns that you may use as an index, create index on them, so you could search quickly through these fields, but the whole heavy object could be serialized in some very powerful serialization way to be compactable. So that's how we can steal this concept by doing our own tricks to steal safe database storage, safe memory. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for answering. Today we're going to look. So it's not in the order as this book is going, because all additional patterns, they go in the last section of this book, but we already covered that. And this one came in a bit earlier than additional patterns, but because, as I said, even they've put some patterns to be additional, some patterns I've used in my experience. That's why I thought, like, it's actually good to mention. And again, interpreter, even it's very rare to use, but if you want to improve even some things with implementation on using some powerful things like reflection from language, for example, in Java, it could be done like this. You can reflect on the object, and then you can create your own builders, or again, you can create some serializers, etc. So in this way, again, you would use interpreter because you would write your own DSL, or you would write it for giving business to do some business tasks simpler. Now, when we covered all patterns, today we're going to cover very interesting combinations of these classic patterns that's called model view controller. Now, I hope to entertain you. So, the model view controller, according to definition, it's actually three patterns together, which is observer, strategy, and composite patterns. Okay. When I read it, I thought that's not correct. It's simply not about this observer, like model view controller is not about using observer pattern under the hood. That was my initial thoughts and reaction. My reaction was exactly you see on the picture. And if you look at this book, pictures in this style, so I think this picture very good compliment to this book. Yes, so I thought, like, that's not what is about model view controller. I thought that controller, model view controller today is used to say we have controller that get requests, response, then we have repository, which is model, and we have service, which is business model, and not sure what is viewed from there, but it definitely that is about model view controller, not about having observer pattern under the hood. Yeah, and I started to look around at the internet why it's coming as a first ever part of thinking in my head. Occasionally, model view controller was the pattern, very popular one. And indeed, now no one uses it as in the way as it was, especially in Java, because in Java, a very popular way to use frameworks like Spring Boot or Quarkus. And in this case, model view controller is not used directly as a template. So someone put in Hacker News that it doesn't mean anything anymore, which for me it's was funny to read. So I have a question from Telo. What is the difference between model view controller and model view model? Yeah, okay, so model view model, it's a pattern that give you more granularity between levels. So model view model, it's so what I would answer to this question, if anyone would ask me today, I would interpret. I will have my own interpretation if someone tell me, let's do it in model view model, which is mean you have under the hood models that serve your business goals, and this will be your repository, and you have request and response, which is also model, and you build a view that's comfortable for your clients. So internal representation is one model, and external representation is another model. But again, maybe internet will say me something different for this one as well. So let's go to the patterns that I use widely today. And even when I say things about model view model, that's exactly how I would position it in my application. So today, I feel like this pattern is very popular. That's how most of enterprise backend application built. Now, if you ever seen this pattern, controller service repository, could you raise your hand? Yeah, I see few hands. Perfect, thank you so much. Yeah, so that's something I'm using personally today, and that's something I'm using for last few years in my career. And model view controller doesn't bring the way how I would build application anymore. So this is something I would use today. If you didn't raise your hand, let me explain. So controller, again, this is higher level of your application, and this is where you put API for your clients. It may be REST interface, it may be protobuf interface, very popular way to use today, protobuf messages, and put it as an API for controller as well. Now, service, you've got request. Now you're going to check some other services to enrich it, to validate it, etc. This all going to be done by service level. So this is your business logic implementation. And then, as soon as you served data, as soon as you updated your data, you go and save it in the repository. So this is your third level. Now, this is another picture. That's a very popular way to build kind of microservice or any service that's doing the job. So now we have REST API again. It could be protobuf API. It could be something else. It doesn't matter. What is matters that it's for clients. And the internal representation, it's our GPA repository. This is our internal. This is what's going to database. Yep. And yeah, this is entities. We would call it model, and this is also entities. And we also can call it model because it's model, but for clients. This is model, but for us. And we normally would use mapper between DTOs, data transfer object layer, object service. And we will map DTO from this level to our internal level entity that go to database. We can do even one more layer. We can say our service is operated with one more object representation. Just if you want, it's claimed to bring us even cleaner architecture, but it's rare than you need one more layer of representation to say like this is my business object. It's possible, but it's kind of rare. I didn't work personally with my career experience. This exactly level with like business level another model. Mostly all services that I built, they were simple enough, so it's just go straight forward to database without any more additional transformation. So that was my understanding of model you control your pattern. Generally, at some point I thought everyone used model view controller and everyone built application in a way of REST, like controller service repository. So I thought like, okay, that's what client view, it's a view, DTO sub use. And then everything else as controller. And then we have entities, that's our model, exact model. So that was my thinking. Apparently, I've learned that MVC different patterns together, so it is different. But today, like, I do not use it personally. I use this one. Now, good question. What is GPA repository? Should the ORM mappers be in the repository? So, what is GPA? It's referred to Java Persistent Application Repository. This is how it's spelled. This is abbreviation for it. It's saying like this because it's want to say, okay, we are working with GPA layer in Java and there are special libraries to work with it. Java Persistence Application, which is kind of interfaces that can help you to store data in database. It also means that instead of writing SQL queries like select from, select where end of date, insert, instead of it, in Java you can use ready libraries that will have methods save, find, and insert as well, but you don't have to write SQL queries directly. This application layer will do is as a set of libraries for you. I know, and I'm sure that's in Python. There are also good libraries, just I don't have names in my mind right now. But if you do, just put there like what you use in Python, for example, to save data in database, or what you use in this TypeScript, for example, what libraries or frameworks you use as well, by not putting SQL queries directly by going to database, because under the hood, that will do this transformation for you. It still will be the same query in database that you would do if you work directly by yourself with database, just you'd likely will use frameworks to do this. Now, markers. Again, we say in this case that we want to map object to object relational model, which will be exact model, exact representation of table. And that's correct to say like, oh, that's going to be one more set of mappers. That's a good note. Normally, we will use, again, in Java, we will use interfaces that's given this framework for us. So basically, this framework will map name of tables to name of these ORM models or Java objects. And yes, when you write functions for repository like insert or save, you will have also a transformation between your entity model, like business model, to database layer. Again, like it may be that you have the same model for services and the same fields in database. In this case, you kind of have mappers. You still need mappers, that's correct. For example, again, in Java, objects will be generated for me by using framework. So that will already give me an object of, I don't know, product, for example, with all fields. And that's exactly objects will be saved in database. But my mapping will be so easy because if it's the same model, like I just say, create a new product from product and field ID will be field ID. So yeah, like it says this layer, that's correct. It's so, but if you have simple model, it's straightforward. So I even don't think about it in this way. But technically, yes, it's correct. There are always one more layer to transform model from object to database object, from business object to database object. So we have at least two transformation. First from request to business model, and second from business model to database model. Yeah, did I answer this question? Any more questions? Okay, I will go next, but I will answer if there is more. Yeah, so I found another note on the internet that say like, okay, model view controller is a popular software pattern used to break up the logic of your application in 3 different components. By using this pattern, you will create 3 packages or like 3 root folders if you use other language. One will be model, one will be view, one will be controller. However, it became very popular in web application during 90s, and the model in this case, data logic behind the application, that's very similar to databases and backend and repositories, something like this. The view is what the user sees and interacts in the application, which is mean it's render buttons, it's render everything. And the controller, it's kind of brains to communicate between them. Correct. So we are talking here also about kind of full stack application, because ages ago we didn't have clear boundaries between front-end part and back-end part. It was all full stack. And in this age, there wasn't such a powerful libraries to do web applications and to do desktop application. Desktop applications were very popular as well. But since this, by today, ecosystem of building web application, it's developed so good, and browser developed so good. So you basically not necessarily need. So basically, you can store a lot of, for example, browser caches. Or you have data in sessions where you interact with users. And now you have such a big ecosystem by building web application that it's another layer. It's a lot of things to learn. So that became separate from backend application, while backend also became like, okay, we serve now not 1,000 records, but million of records, and that's coming with absolutely different problems. How to work with hardware, how to scale it, how to do round robins, and yeah, a lot of things. Okay. So another one that I found, that there is now a million different interpretations to MVC, because it's such an old pattern that everyone would explain it in their own way. Like I explained it my own way, but it says that Ruby on Rails or JavaScript may explain it in their own way. So yeah, model, it's source true for data and the business logic, and then view is a representation, which is again could be transfer layer, like transfer object, and controller, it's basically everything in advance, in between, right? Okay. Okay, now you read all this chapter, about MVC, and now you say you don't use MVC anymore. At least one thing to entertain yourself, that you can go and ask your colleagues and just like have experiment who is going to tell you that it's observer, composite, and strategy together, and who is going to give their own implementation. So yeah, it's one of the takeaways that you can try. Basically go and discuss with others what do they think about this abbreviation MVC. And maybe it will be a lot of interesting insights. If we want to look at controller service repository, let me see, we've put here example of member controller that you can look at Women Coding Community backend services. So if you look at this one, you will see annotation, REST controller. You will see which one request exactly going to be mapped. And you will see all args constructor, which is going to handle our creational patterns. That's used, I believe, where it's coming from. Yeah, Lombok. This is libraries that basically get rid of all creational patterns by using annotations. It's a very interesting way to approach to creation, but it's also very, very fast. You don't need to write anything, you just write annotations to create and fulfill objects, the ones that we talked in creational patterns. Just to mention here that we covered builder patterns, so Lombok has builder annotation that just created under the hood. Now, if you look at this one, we see that we basically want to implement few methods, which is get, post, put, and this is for members. And yeah, that's how we do this, and delete. So that's classic for methods of REST API. And with this controller, and again, I would call something that's coming for mapping as a view, and something that we're going to work with as a model. If we go to this one, let me see, is it? No, it's not going to scroll like this. But yeah, we can find member, and we will see how member is represented as well. And if you go to repository, we definitely will find member repository. So by knowing the pattern, like what is the magic about understanding and knowing this pattern? If you know that the first ever point to work with application is going to controller, and you want that, you know that you want to work with members, you'd likely will find the name member controller, and that's it. Everyone thinks in the same way when implement this pattern controller service repository. So we expect that there will be member controller, we expect that there will be member repository, and we expect that there will be maybe member service as well. Oh, I'm looking at different one. And yeah, member service, correct, indeed. So if you check where member service is happening, it's coming from service package, which is also very, very expectable. So we just look at services and we can see what member service is doing. So what we're going to do with member, we're going to create member, and we're going to use repository create method. Then we're going to get all members, find by ID, update member, and maybe delete member somewhere as well. And that's our service layer. And if again, we will check repository, and I hope I can cover the last mapping as well. And what's this again? Member repository. Yeah, okay. We have it as an interface. Okay, we have actually few. Oh, okay, that's beautiful. You actually have here a few different repositories, kind of Google Drive configuration. Okay, so it's for repositories as well, and Postgres has separate implementation. So that goes to separate package, and that go to. It should be Postgres member implementation, and it does not. So interface exists without implementation, which is also legal. If you look at member repository, we have implementation here. Oh, okay. Okay, because they don't use any GPA layer. Yeah, there is no GPA layer. That's why they do next. They do direct queries. Yeah, and that's what they do. They basically write all queries that they need to create and save. But in my career experience, I always used one more layer of Java libraries, APIs, that would give representation for me. Now, it's even more interesting how exactly they save. But okay, yeah, I see. So they just using power of strings to create. So there is no mappers in this case. There is just the power of strings to map objects to database by using direct queries. Yeah, I'll look for GPA example for you as you asked, and I hope I can find you in Slack as well. Oh, by the way, I can put here the link to the Slack as well. But yeah, if you want to look at more examples of traditional, very straightforward implementation of controller service repository, you can go to Women Coding Community backend. It's open source, so you can look, and even if you want, you can contribute to our platform as well, and maybe bring a GPI layer. Okay, this is linked to Slack, by the way. Now, question from Luis. Is this event only for women? So Women Coding Community events opened for everyone, and we opened for speakers from any background. You are very welcome to join us and stay here as well. Yes, we didn't mention it's not exclusively. You can join us, feel free and feel very welcome. And also you can join our Slack and ask questions there as well. Good. And yeah, share with all your friends, whether they are women or not, if you want to share these materials, they're welcome to look as well. Now, if we look at controller service repository, what patterns I can recognize here? I can say that we use abstract factory and factory methods to create controllers, services, and repository and mappers. In examples that you've seen, there is annotation controller that create factory under the hood with all controllers. That means that this pattern exists. You use it while you use this framework. You just don't have to implement it for yourself. Oh, thank you so much for your compliment. Now, controllers, services, repositories, and mappers, they all singletons. So basically you use widely singleton pattern by using this controller repository, controller service repository. Prototype, we discussed that prototype basically about cloning objects. So basically, when you do update for your entities before saving them to repository, you are using prototype under the hood. State. These keep your models in the proper state, because when you, so we've seen a member there, so member can have a few states: created, updated, deleted, something like this. Oh, not updated, active. For example, member could be created, but we do not yet activated member by adding them to, I don't know, for example, to send emails to all members. It's easier. Maybe in a year we will have this amazing function as soon as we finish with our backend. So you're very welcome to come and contribute in our backend. Yeah, so as soon as we added member to email list, it became active. State has changed, and if member doesn't want to get any more emails from us, it goes to state deleted, for example. Even more strategy. So as you've seen, there is member controller, and there is mentor controller, and there is mentee controller. So all they are different strategies to implement controllers. Easy peasy. The same for services, the same for mappers, and the same for repositories. Just supporting different models, business models. You kind of use strategy and use it. So I hope now you feel that you definitely used at least strategy in your life as a pattern. Decorators. We may use decorators to encapsulate logging and metrics. And decorators like one more layer that could wrap your functions. That's a reminder again. So if we would introduce GPI libraries, example of these libraries is Druk. Let me show you. That's good and popular library in Java. Okay, let me see what this one is going to give you. The easiest way to create database first, a lot of things. Now, you can see here how this layer will transform SQL queries to Java code base by adding this library, integrating the library, and configure it. Basically, this is small thing that you could bring even for our backend project by integrating Druk in our repositories. And also, Druk is DSL. That's basically going to transform things to SQL. So you see the very bright example of using interpreter pattern. So basically, this one is finding the way to interpret the Java code to SQL language. So from one language to another language. So we already see this pattern in action, kind of in action here. Yes. So that's how you could rewrite all your select patterns, all your select queries, etc. Yeah, and this is, I love it. So instead of writing something like this, you say select from table, where you have these conditions, like ID, for example, equal to ID that we're searching for, and etc. and etc. So this is kind of decoration, because it doesn't add any more logic. But it's just it simplifies beautifully how you would work with database. So it's kind of decorator as well. Template methods encapsulate algorithms. If you want to have the same validation, for example, like if it's not random UID names, etc., we could wrap it in template methods as well. When we want to filter members by, I don't know, some characteristic, we may use collections, and we may use iterators that iterate for collection, or more more good pattern here, like streams, Java streams. It's powerful to work with data when you need to aggregate data around proxy caching, proxy pattern. When you use this for your application, you can add caching. That will be your proxy. That's one of the examples. Because if you have a lot of, I don't know, mentors who come and sign in and get data about their mentees every day, you may just serve it from cache. That will be the usage of pattern proxy. And observers, you may introduce them to listen to events and update entities, which is mean here we say like observer that goes to next pops up way or implement webhooks. For example, I don't know, can create member by listening to the webhook that go in Slack, and someone who registered in Slack go to, that will be webhook in Women Coding Community backend service that's going to pick up it and create a member in Women Coding Community repository, member repository. We just need someone to implement this one. So easy way to contribute in Women Coding Community. Now, is a small, beautiful diagram. Again, it's kind of, we tend to build backend real-time services in this way. So we may put the main name, spacing, resolution, which is DNS, and that's load balancers. That's all will be our proxies. This is the concept of proxy pattern. So you definitely now know what is proxy pattern about. And then applications, that's usage of controller service repository, very widely, very popularly. And then we may have database, and we also have two actors there, which is main database and secondary database, and secondary one is observer. Now, we may also have events like scrolling around, which is also will be kind of observer, but actually publisher subscriber pattern that you can use. And we also going to do dumps to have more data for search and to give it to data analytics as well. It could be not cloud storage, but data lake, for example. And we can say like we kind of leverage concept of Mementa if you want. The main idea is just to understand that that's all kind of patterns, how we build today's software. And you're already familiar with them. Don't think like, oh, I'm not build software in patterns. We all today build software in patterns. This is our pattern, how we build it. System, like classic system design. The whole diagram is classic system design pattern. Now, all together, let's go and repeat what we learned through this course and kind of examples that I shared with you. So, strategy pattern. This is kind of starting point of this book, and now it's understandable why, because it's kind of every pattern, every thing today use kind of different strategies. So we build flexibility, we build it. We always think about APIs today in our kind of more microservices paradise world. So it's about building flexibility, be ready for changes, and decouple interfaces, APIs from kind of your main models, and build different strategies to work with different entities. Always about strategy pattern. Observer pattern, the most common usage of observer pattern, it's listen to updates on the states of the object and send it to metrics, especially if you build some business metrics. Decorator pattern, it's additional behavior by wrapping objects and functions. It gives you the way of thinking what other layer you can put to simplify things around, or to do like logging again, metrics reporting, or even authentication and caching, etc. Factory pattern. This is the concept of thinking how we create factories, not necessarily now on the low level layer, because again, it could be just framework, or it could be in Python global model pattern, like try to stick to the same model with the same functions, with the same business logic. Singleton pattern, and today I also would add to singleton pattern data-oriented objects that we learned, data-oriented programming. So you basically think about the application and all objects you create, all functions, as they serve two goals, and only two goals. One goal is being a service, being controller, being service, again, like whenever it's going to do, being repository, being listener, being publisher. So all of them are services, and they should be singletons. They would never have to repeat. This object has never ever been cloned. And the second type is data-oriented classes, data-oriented objects. That's something where we wrap our model, which could be representation in JSON, representation in Proto, representation in Avro. And we constantly update them because our data in system are going to be constantly updated with changes from the world. So we create a new one. And at least in Java machine, we know that the old one will be deleted by itself. That's why I love Java machine. I don't have to delete them manually. So I would put here like, this is the concept where you divide and conquer. Now, the next one is command pattern. We build our soft in the way where we could sometimes send, receive, process, and cancel commands, like to do the next thing. Again, as we moved to the world of microservices, it could be the way of thinking to send commands to process piece of data from one service to another one. So this is how today we can use the concept of command pattern. Next one is adapter and facade pattern. So we are wrapping systems to adaptable, let's say like these APIs, which is mean like we building API gateways for our clients, which is kind of facade, which is mean like if we have different data sources, we build the big adapters that kind of adapt every, let's say, vendor to common unified interface. And that could be like 3 different controllers. So we looked at controllers today. It could be controller vendor 1, controller vendor 2, controller vendor 3, and they all live in microservice that's called adapter, and they all transform APIs from vendors to unified internal APIs. And then everything else, each other backend service that's neat with things, they're going to talk only with adapter as microservice. So it's kind of protected the whole system from vendors. So 2 things, adapter from vendors and the facade as API gateways for clients. Hope now it's a very good look at these patterns. State pattern. The main takeaway from this, please look at the object, keeping in mind that they should do transition between states as finite state machine. So every time you should think how the object could come to the state, what is the state, do you need to introduce one more state, and what will be the next possible state, or 2, 3 states, which one is a valid transition. And use state pattern to track these transitions. Memento pattern, it's kind of the concept is kind of reminder that when your entity, when you model like, I don't know, product that the user is going to buy in e-commerce store, product that's going to go through different services, treat it like a gamer who going through the game, and every microservice it hit is a level and a store snapshot of what's happened with the product at each microservice as kind of a layer of the game, level of the game that the object is trying to go through. So that's a very good reminder as a concept of like memorizing the states. So you always can retry, reproduce the state, look at logs, debugging, and data lake to always figure out what exactly happened with this product. Let's dive in. Yeah. Proxy pattern, I would think about it today as a pattern that help you to protect your software with smart defensive layers like load balancers, DNS, CDN, rate limiter, caching, everything that could client or vendor could hit first before they actually achieve your service and your system. Chain of responsibility, it's building chains to work with data in streaming way. For example, you streaming request responses. Again, you may want to authenticate it so that you build chain of responsibility between interceptors that want to get one. Yeah. Oh, Isabel, please go through our feedback form before logout, and I would ask everyone to do this in 1 second as well. Yeah, I almost finished. Mediator, today we use it as orchestration engine. Interpreter and write your own DSL. I already mentioned this one. Lightweight, that's I mentioned in the beginning how we can basically compact some objects, and bridge with kind of patterns that's a reminder as soon as you have a lot of objects, a lot of changes, you may already have to decouple them. Now, I want to ask everyone who joined today to go quickly through this form. It will take you like 5 minutes, but I sent it in advance, and I really wanted to say which one is pattern win in competition of being the best ever pattern. But I need you to do this right now. Please go through this form, especially even if you joined us today. I think you already got so many insights from today's session as well. So try to fill this form now, because I really need to figure out who is the winner, who is the best pattern. So we now looked at all of them. Please help us help patrons to define which one is the best one. Yeah, okay. While you're doing this, only 5 minutes, I'm going to wait and I'm going to track. And yeah, maybe I should have something else like Kahoot, something else. So it would be more interactive, but I have only Google Form today. Okay, I'm not going to speak anymore for 5 minutes. Maybe let me do even timer for 5 minutes. Thank you so much, Federica. Please join our Slack as well. The data pool pattern. So you mean when we could have reusable connections in data pool, right? Yeah, okay. Which one was it? Legally using objects. No, it's not a question. I remember what you're talking about. Let me check. Lightweight. I marked for lightweight. I said for lightweight because it kind of builds in light representation of sessions, so you can reuse this one. Yeah. Okay. Few questions from Taylor. How did you you've learned so much about design pattern? How did you learn them? How do you use them in daily programming life? In the HFLM, how do you think can you quickly learn design patterns? Or what design patterns are useful for coding, agentic coding, for web coding? Are you any new design patterns designed for agentic coding? Yes, there are also, well, at least anti-patterns. There are already anti-patterns. And Merck inject singletons for this integration tests. Okay, let me try to answer all of them by once. I've learned a lot about them because for Java, it's heavily object-oriented language, so I had to learn solid design principles and few the more important patterns like strategy, like creational patterns, even to go to interview. So it was a very important topic for them. I was using a lot of creational patterns in my previous job because we didn't use frameworks. So I had to write factories, builders, etc. from scratch by my own every time. And that's why I was like looking at them many times. Kind of in my ever first job, I was asked to implement something, and then my mentor told me, you can do it in better way, you can do chain of responsibility. And also some patterns, I was using them without knowing that there is a pattern. So I kind of learned and consolidated a lot by reading this book. It's a very good book with great examples and exercises, and you can also learn a lot by just using this book. Which one I'm using by daily programming, I showed today, controller service repository. So that's kind of usage for every single day. And under the hood, by not knowing, we use almost all of them, just some of them implemented on the level of language itself. We just don't know because it's like language already implemented these patterns and they created all this syntax sugar for us. Now, how you can quickly learn it in LLMH. So you can take this classic Java book, for example, and you leverage AI like by questioning, okay, I learned about this concept in Java, but my language is TypeScript. Could you generate me examples in TypeScript? Now, could you tell me if it's relevant for TypeScript at all? Now, could you like explain me the next thing? So I feel like today it's the most interesting days in the so many years to learn quicker about patterns, because now you can experiment with concept itself. You learn first concept, like you anyways, you need to come with questions somehow. So you can get the book, look at concept, or get the course on YouTube, this one, and then you'll go and ask AI. You also can use the button summarize on YouTube when you look at these lectures. Like, I have no right to say you don't use summarize button. There is a button on YouTube as well. I don't know if it's available only on paid subscription, to be honest, because my subscription is paid, but there is a button like this, and it summarizes the video, so you don't have to watch it anymore. This is funny, but it's true. Yeah. Now, vibe coding and agentic coding. So the same patterns, you just say to your vibe coding agent, could you implement it now by using this pattern? For example, my home pet project example, that I was using Victorine bot in Python for my friends, and I was creating commands, and then I told Copilot, could you generate now it's a beautiful command pattern, and it's pretty fun. It code a lot, and I liked it. So I think like by learning from them, you only win. Whenever you work with humans or agents, you only win in this case, and even it's more important because it could be generated as code base so quickly, you need to understand what to tell them, right? Because you can use wrong pattern and then you will end up with applying changes not in exact way that you would like to apply them. I hope it's motivating. New design pattern for agentic coding. So for this one, I will give you something like the talk from DevOps UK. And this talk telling about, there is so many things. 300 key tokens. Yeah, so there is a talk like this that's sharing about anti-patterns when you're trying to build your own agents. And you can search for UK one. I watched UK one. I liked it because it gives me a lot of insights how to, I don't have to build agents today, at least I don't work on these chats, like to quickly respond to clients. But it gave me good exposure to understand how to code agents, and it's just one lecture, but you already can learn how to do it wrong at least. Now, the last question, I like it. How do you mock inject singleton services in integration tests? I actually answer it with when you use strategy pattern and you create steps. For example, you basically need it for integration tests. You need to mock your clients, right? So one of the way, you can use library wiremock in Java, which can create stubs for you. So these stubs are going to accept requests and responses and simulate the answer. And if you do not use any frameworks, for example, again, I was in the position where I didn't use any frameworks, but I could get even more advantage of having client to be kind of HTTP client, and then just using pattern strategy, implement interface, like create an interface, create implementation of real client I'm going to work for, and for test, implement stub client, and put everything that I want in my stub client. That was very easy. Today you can use ready libraries that's going to simulate requests that's going to be sent. Yeah, so like this. This will be my answer to this one. Yeah, did I answer everything? Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your questions. It's very good one. Now I'm going to check if we have best ever pattern. Just let me let me see. What did you? Yeah, okay. So the winner is, so the most useful pattern during the course. Let me actually put it here because I can correct it. I will put it here for you. So the most useful. If you haven't yet submitted, you have last ever moment, and observer. So observer. So that's first one. It has 4 voids. Okay, let me do it in a different way. Yeah. The second place is going, it's actually for two patterns are going to share the second place. It's decorator and MVC pattern. So okay, I will put MVC. Both of them 3 words. And let me name the third place. And this is strategy pattern. Okay, interesting. Strategy pattern. And let's copy this one. And the second was Which one do you see useful using the most in real world projects? And strategy. So this one has 4 words as well. Oops. Yeah. Second one, it's again 2 patterns. The one is factory, and the second one is MVC again. Okay. And the last one, yes, it's only one, decorator. Yay, we have winners. So this one I like, which design most useful for today projects. Like this. Yeah, cool. Thank you so much for participating in this voting, and thank you so much for filling the form as well. I'm going to stop sharing this one. Okay. And okay, now yeah, I was thinking where this Windows. And I stop it.